Hi, everyone. So we just watched a video about the respiratory system. So can you tell me what the respiratory system does for our body? hmm Yeah, so the respiratory system involves the different organs and parts in our body that help us. We breathe in, air goes into our lungs, and then we breathe out, right? And so why do we need to breathe in air? What is that giving our body? Something important in the air that when we breathe in, it brings to our body. Yeah, it's oxygen. Oxygen is the important gas in the air that we breathe in. Okay, so we breathe in through our nose or through our mouth, or maybe both. And then it goes down our windpipe. Do you remember the other name for a windpipe? It starts with the TR. Trachea. So it goes down our windpipe through our trachea. And then there's these little teeny tubes here. There's two of them. They go off into our lungs called bronchi. And it goes off and then it goes into our lungs, right? And our lungs are the big sacs that fill with air. And do they get bigger or smaller when we breathe in? They get bigger when we breathe in and they fill with air, right? That air goes through the bronchi. And then there are bronchioles, which are a whole bunch of little tubes in there. They go through those to little teeny air sacs on the end called alveoli. And they'll go to those. And that's where that oxygen will enter the blood. So there's a whole bunch of little teeny blood vessels called capillaries, teeny tiny blood vessels. And they're there. And that oxygen from the alveoli gets into the blood. And then it travels around. Remember, our heart works together with our lungs. Our heart does the pumping, and that's going to pump that blood with oxygen in it through our body to all the different parts of our body. And then when that blood gets to those parts of the body, those different cells will use the oxygen. And when they use it, they make carbon dioxide, which is another gas that's in the air. And we don't want that in our body. So that gets into the blood, right? They take the oxygen and then they put their extra carbon dioxide back into the blood. And the blood travels back to the heart and over to the lungs. And there's that carbon dioxide in it. And it's like, oh, got to get rid of that. So then that happens in reverse. What happens when we breathe in, comes in reverse, that carbon dioxide goes from those capillaries into the alveoli, back through the bronchioles, back through the little bronchi tubes, up through the trachea, and we breathe out the carbon dioxide. So it happens forward, we're breathing in the oxygen. Here it comes and it goes throughout your body, and then we breathe out the carbon dioxide. So it happens in two different ways. So let me see if I have any other questions I wanted to ask you about. Ooh, do you remember we learned how many alveoli there were? Over 600 million. That's a lot. That's a whole lot. Okay, so let me ask you one more time. What's the name of the gas that we breathe in? Right, that's called oxygen. And what's the name of the gas that we breathe out? It's two words. It's called carbon dioxide. Okay, that's the one we breathe out. Okay, so for today, we're going to color the respiratory system page in our body book. So you'll need your body book. And I'm going to, let's see, share my screen with you here. And the first thing we need to do is find the page with the lungs. So look through your book. Which one of these? We don't have too many left that aren't colored. So which one is the one with the lungs? Yeah, here it is. And it says respiratory system underneath. So that's the one we'll need for today. Okay, there it is. So we're going to start. There's the windpipe. And do you remember the name for the windpipe? Trachea. I'm going to use kind of like an orangey, skinish color. You could also use kind of like a pink color. I'm going to kind of mix them a little bit. Just think about kind of like the color of what maybe your throat might be like. And then, oh, we didn't talk about this, but this is the diaphragm. I'm going to kind of color it a light pink, and then I'm going to go over it with more of a reddish color. But the diaphragm is a muscle. And its job is to help when you breathe in and breathe out. Now, I'm even going to add a little brown to that. Let's get it a little bit browner. And what it does is, see right now, the way the diaphragm is shaped in this picture is it's kind of pushing up on the lungs, right? Well, when you breathe in, it flattens out and it kind of moves down and flattens out, and it gives the lungs more room to expand with air. And then when you are breathing out, it moves back up like this. It relaxes and moves back up and pushes the air out of the lungs. So it's one of those muscles that we don't really have to think about moving, right? It just moves on its own. We don't have to think about, okay, diaphragm, time for you to contract and flatten, time for you to move back up. We don't think about that. It just does it on its own. Okay, now, so I colored the trachea and that muscle of the diaphragm. And now I'm going to color, these are all the different tubes, the bronchioles. You can't really see the alveoli on this picture very well. That's not really here, but they would be the little sacs that are on the end of that. And you'll see tomorrow, we'll do a project where you'll really get to see those on a picture a little bit better. And then I'm going to color my lungs in a pinky color. And I might add a little bit of that orangey color for the background, or maybe that's the background. Maybe I should color that my background color. Okay, so now after you do that, we're ready. That's the background. So I'm just going to take that back and color that in the background color. We're ready to color in the background. So you know me, I like to color my background in black so that everything stands out against my background. But you decide for yourself what color you would like to do it, okay? So remember, the main parts we're coloring are the trachea, the diaphragm, and the lungs. And then these are the bronchi and the bronchioles that are in the lungs. So those bring the air into the lungs. Those are the tubes that bring the air into the lungs. Okay, well, I won't have you watch me color in my whole body. I will stop the video to do that. And then you can go ahead, and if you didn't start yet, you can go ahead and start and go ahead and finish coloring in your body there. Okay, so remember, trachea, diaphragm, lungs, and then those are the bronchioles. And the two little ones that go to each lung are called bronchi. Okay, so go ahead and work on that for today.